Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're enjoying yourself. This is episode number 4, so we're just getting started. Today, we're going to talk about the principle of training, and that builds upon what we talked about last time, which is the variables of fitness. The variables are the things within ourselves that we want to work on in order to achieve our goals, and we break them down into the 5 categories we talked about last time, which are cardiovascular endurance, muscular strength, flexibility, and body composition. Those are the things inside our body that we're trying to change in order to become more fit and more healthy. Now today we're going to work on kind of the logic and the principles behind the how we go about adjusting those things and what things work for each one of those different variables. Before we get too far into this, let's go through our standard disclaimer. As usual, this is for informational and educational purposes only. I am not your personal trainer. You're not my client. I do not know your medical history or your individual needs. Exercise carries an inherent risk, so please consult a doctor before engaging in strenuous activity. I cannot diagnose nor treat injury or illness, and programs posted and demonstrated are what I've seen and used over the years with success, but this does not guarantee your own. And you are not my client. I am not giving you direct advice. Client, you would have signed a waiver and you'd be paying me, and you're not. So hit that like button, subscribe, and share with your friends. Now let's get to it. What are the principles of training? As we categorize the variables, we kind of categorize these into 4 main groups. The first one is progressive overload. The second one is individuality. The third is specificity. And then last is variety. And we're going to go ahead and break those down. I got my whiteboard behind me. So let me adjust the camera just a little bit. All right. So progressive overload is the first one, and this takes many forms. Okay, so before I go into that though, keyword progressive, and this is one of the pet peeves I have in our industry is sometimes you get the kitchen sink thrown at you at once, or people try to push you too hard, too fast, and test your limits. Every workout's a challenge. This is the alpha male workout. This is, the WOD, the CrossFit WOD of the day. Well, we need a progressive system to get better. So every workout is the build, and then we challenge ourselves along the way. So progressive overload, keyword progressive, and overload just means you're stressing your system beyond what you're used to. So this can be what your initial thought probably is weight. How much weight am I doing? But it could also be how far did you run? It could be a little bit more abstract as we go through these. We'll start with weight because that's the easiest one. Intensity, we're redefining this for you. Intensity is closeness to 1 rep max, or the shortest duration version of what you're doing you can do. So if that's weightlifting, that's your 1 rep max. If it's running, it's the distance. So it's how long you can do it. So a high intensity run, you wouldn't be able to do very long. Example, 100-meter dash, high intensity run, about 10 seconds. Whereas a medium intensity run would be something like a 400-meter sprint or an 800-meter run. And a low intensity run would be your long distance running, where you're getting a rhythm and you're getting into an aerobic state. So intensity has different forms as well, but it is closeness to what your max effort. So we'll just define it that way. It's closeness to your max effort. Volume is how much you're doing. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. It's in weightlifting, it's sets times reps. In running, it's how many miles you're putting in a week. So volume is how much you're fitting into your exercise program. Frequency is the how often you're doing something, and this is usually in reference to repeated efforts. So again, we'll go to the weight room. If I did squats one day and then I did squats 2 days later, that's a pretty high frequency to do them that close together. Whereas if you're a traditional bodybuilder doing body part splits, you do squats on Monday, well, you don't do legs again till the next Monday. So that would be a low frequency event. And then there's rest. Rest is both the time between workout bouts, but it is also all the way down to the micro level where it's how much time do I need between a set. So these are the things that we can overload. I can increase the weight, or I can increase the speed with intensity. I can increase the volume with more sets and reps. I can increase the frequency by pushing things closer together, and then I can decrease the rest. So decreasing the rest would be overloading the system, because at first you need longer rest. Well, we'll get the great thing. I'm going to keep this one a little shorter because we're probably going to do an episode for each individual principle here to go into more detail, because then you can get a lot more nuanced on how you use these things. But rest would normally be something we decrease as we go. Now here's the kicker though. All of these things affect each other. So if you mess with one, keep in mind that it's going to affect the others. Example, intensity. I'm maxing out, I'm doing 1 rep max deadlifts. The higher intensity the lift, the more neurologically taxing it is, and the longer you need to recover from it. So you wouldn't be able to do as much volume because 1 rep is all you can do. And the only volume you get is the warm-up leading up to that 1 rep realistically. But you would have to take a longer rest in between sets, which would reduce the frequency. So all of these things play into each other, and you cannot just pile one on top of the other. Now, if you play it right, we can utilize these in a way that they all benefit each other, just like I talked about with the variables. So next one, individuality. Almost always overutilized, but this is the individual differences from person to person. So I'm different than you, whoever you are out there. I'm different than every single one of my clients. So I have to do things a little differently with myself than I would with client A, which I would do some things differently than with client B, client C, da, da, da. So I'm giving you general programs, but at the same time, that's why I'm also teaching you how to adjust, because we are all individuals. Now, I said that's the underutilized with cookie cutter programs. The overutilized is the excuse that everybody's always different to explain why that thing didn't work for you. But at the same time, if it's your trainer telling you that and you're not getting results and their answer is everybody's different, then you need to fire right back with, well, how are you adjusting for me? Because obviously it's not working. Now, for clients overusing it, a lot of times it's because they don't want to do something. So they'll say, oh, I don't like that. That doesn't work for me. Everybody's different. So individuality can be over or underutilized. We are all mostly the same. And then I categorize, and I'm gonna show you, I don't know if I'm gonna do it in that episode or if I'm gonna have a separate one just for categories, but how to categorize. And again, we start broad and then we chop it up all the way till we get down to the individual. And that's part of you learning your clients or you learning yourself in order to get there. And I'm sorry for the reflection on the other one, but it's hard to get lighting in here and I'm working on how to get it exactly as I need it. But specificity, it's similar to individuality, right? Individuality is everybody's a little bit different. Specificity is, well, said principle, specific adaptations to impose demands. That this is more in reference to your goals or what you need. So specificity plays from individuality because the individual has different goals, needs, and wants. But it's more, I could say it as we need to be specific in how we approach going about meeting the needs of the individual or overloading the system in the way we want to. Now, variety, this one can be controversial. And I got the example of powerlifting versus P90X. Variety is just the kind of the repertoire you have in how you approach things. A very low variety program would be a powerlifting program. So squat, bench, deadlift, they're trying to get as good as they can at those 3 things. And anything accessory to that, there's very little variety in the training methods. First of all, everything's in the sagittal plane, straightforward, with squats, bench, and deadlift. And anything outside of those major lifts and progressing those are what they call auxiliary lifts, which are just working on the weak points that are probably holding them back in those lifts. So very low variety versus P90X, where their motto was fusion is the key to adaptation, which is not true, by the way. Stress and strain is the key to adaptation. But so they threw everything at you. They had a huge repertoire of exercises, and it wasn't random with P90X, but it was a lot of different things all the time, so you never got too used to anything. I use a lot of variety, but I try to do it strategically. And here's why I do that, because when you get good at something, it becomes less beneficial to you when it comes to an overall health perspective. Powerlifting does it on purpose because you have to sacrifice some other things to get ultra strong in these 3 lifts, just to be super humanly strong to begin with. So you have to sacrifice other things. So they want to eliminate variety. They want your nervous system to be very specific to the task at hand. Whereas P90X, their whole system was based on body composition. So they wanted to keep throwing different things at you because your body's never used to it, and the things you're less used to are going to be more taxing on your energy systems. So you get that initial body composition kind of kickstart to losing weight and getting fit. Now, I use it not to the extent of P90X because I like to do it strategically. I like to take some of the principles of just making yourself better in certain ways very strategically, while giving you enough variety to keep things challenging on your energy systems. The other part of it is I found using variety allows me to have more volume because of a concept called over-patterning. So over-patterning is when you do a movement so much that you start to develop overuse injuries. Good example, pitchers. They throw the ball a lot. They have a pitch count now because just doing that repetitive motion over and over and over and over and over again causes damage slowly in the joint. Running's another example. The strap on your shoes runners, and that's all they do. Eventually, if that's all you do, you're going to have knee problems and low back problems and probably foot problems because of over-patterning. So variety can be used to increase energy demands, but also to prevent these over-patterning injuries. So to summarize it, we use these 4 together to stress the system in a way that says, I need to adapt. And we do that progressively by overloading whatever system we're working on. If it's the nervous system, then I'm probably going to use higher intensity activity. If it's the skeletal muscle that I want to grow, I'm probably going to use higher volume. If I'm trying to increase my recovery ability, we're probably going to go with higher frequency. If I want more endurance, I'm probably going to reduce rest. So we want to do that progressively, and we want to have a systematic way of doing it. It needs to be individual to our needs, and it needs to be specific to the things we're working towards, and it needs to have the proper variety for your goals. And if you're hiring a trainer and they can't explain how that works for you in their program, then find a new trainer. If you are trying to train yourself, get a good understanding of this, because now you can look at the tools as they come for you, and you can start saying, oh, I can use this for this goal that I'm going for. So as I give you these, the way I do programming, and you get more tools in that area, then you can kind of start seeing what's behind them and go, oh, okay, well, this will be good here. So I want to make this adjustment for myself, and I'm going to up the volume because I'm lagging behind on body composition, on muscle mass. You know, whatever your goal is, and you start learning yourself. Now this will give you the aha behind what manipulations you need to make to do that. Now let's go a little bit more into my philosophy. Now, if you've ever been around the strength training world, you might have heard the word a linear program. Well, linear program, again, to go back to power lifters, usually you see that in respect to one goal. So a linear program will be a program set up so that you get stronger and stronger and stronger as we go on. So let's make a chart, and this will be time, and this is result. So we can put anything on there. We'll start with strength. It's just the easiest one to talk about usually. Well, what you expect from a linear program is to see something like this. Unfortunately, that's a recipe for failure, because the best case scenario, you're going to get something like this and then that. You're going to plateau. Worst case scenario, you're going to get this until you break. All right. So what any good linear system does is they usually do something like this. Right? So you improve, then you kind of, again, we'll stick with strength. You know, if you're doing 5-3-1, you'd go week 1, week 2, week 3, deload. Week 1, week 2, week 3, deload. All right, so you would kind of have that week off in between, so that way you don't break yourself along the way. You could reassess and maybe work on some things you need to work on. So we have to accept this concept that this is how our body works. You're never going to get to shoot straight up, or else something's going to happen. Now, what I do, if that was strength, what I do is I work other variables progressively through, and yeah, maybe the slope will be a little different, but because I'm working these other variables all at the same time, when we talk about just fitness, we're always seeing some form of improvement, even though individual variables of our fitness will have that undulating pattern. Our overall trajectory can be in the right direction. So I manipulate my program to where we're focusing on one, and then when we change the training split at about the time you would normally plateau, we focus on another that builds on that one, and then we focus on another one. So usually it starts with a high frequency type program, and then to a muscle building type program, and then to a strength type program. And then when we recycle back to that high frequency, high rep program, we're stronger when we get there. So when I measure that, one of my favorite thing to measure is volume load. This is sets times reps times weight. And if you wanted to get really specific, you would also have distance, because then you can then you would be getting total work. Work is force times distance. So sets times reps times weight. And the reason why that's my favorite thing to measure is because it covers all of the variables, and especially if you add distance, because mobility would give you more distance. It covers all the variables but body comp, I should say. So example of that is if I do one set of 10 reps by 100 pounds, that's 1,000 pounds, right? So if I'm working muscular endurance, well, the next time I get around to endurance, I might be able to do 1 by 15 by 100 pounds. So that would be 1,500 pounds of volume load. So I got 500 pounds more of volume load times the distance. That's that much more work. But say I work strength. Well, next time I get around to that 1 by 10, I've got 1 by 10 by 110 pounds. So my strength training allowed me to do 10 more pounds for those 10 reps the next time I did the 10 rep set. So now we've got 1,100 pounds of volume load. Easy math. That's that much more work done, again, over the distance. So I try to do this semi-linear system manipulating the variables in order to increase volume load as we go. And the last one, cardiovascular endurance. Well, when we talked the variable cardiovascular endurance in the last episode, one of the benefits to it with strength training was you recover better between sets, right? So we've got our 1 by 10 by 100. Well, if I recover better, maybe next time I can do 2 sets of 10 by the 100 pounds. And so that's 2,000 pounds of volume load. So now imagine a situation where, 4 months later, when I recycle the program, I'm stronger, my cardiovascular endurance is better, my muscular endurance is better, and my mobility is better. Then I can do those 2 sets of maybe, let's add them all up, 12 by the 110 pounds, and 2 by 12 by 110 pounds is, 2 by 12 is 24, 2,640. Somebody check my math there. But you only got 10 pounds stronger. And when you got back around to that same workout 4 months later on that lift, but your volume load almost tripled. So that's that much more work done, especially if you're getting a better range of motion. So now you can think of the body composition benefits to that. So if you're doing 3 times the work over a greater distance, then you're burning 3 times the energy. But so that's why I use volume load as my major measure. And hopefully you got a little bit better understanding, kind of an overview of the principles of training and how we go about affecting those variables of fitness. I'm going to do a separate one for each one of those as we get deeper into this. I like to harp on the individuality one too, because I think a lot of lazy trainers out there use it as an excuse to manipulate their clients. And specificity also bothers me because, well, the biggest question I get since I've trained Major League Baseball players is someone bringing their kid to me. Do you have a baseball specific program? And I look them in the eye and say, yes, it is. But 90% of it is not. The other 10%, the energy demands of the sport and the injury concerns, is the difference, and it makes it baseball specific. But that's not what people think, and the people who are the charlatans who are trying to get people's money, that's not what they're saying either. So yes, it's specific, but mostly I'm just making them a great athlete, and then we address the injury concerns of the sport. Well, that's the principles of training. We're going to go ahead and end it here. I'm trying to keep these a little bit shorter. Let me know what you think in the comments. Again, like, share, subscribe. If you dislike it, please leave a comment. If you like it, leave a comment. And we'll just keep this thing growing. If you saw this one first, then I recommend going back to the introductory episode, and then also the starter program, as well as the variables of fitness. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.